Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Starring Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, Chloe Bennett, Elizabeth Henstridge, Henry Simmons, Natalia Cordova-Buckley, Jeff Ward.
So I was actually really impressed and just overall surprised by this episode, because I was expecting some pretty cool and some pretty big stuff to happen in this episode, especially since we were going back to Afterlife and we were going back to a lot of the Season 2 elements. But this was probably the most plot-heavy episode of the season. Maybe not the most plot-heavy, maybe episode 1 and some of the other episodes were a little bit more plot-heavy, but this was definitely the most fast-paced episode. It just felt like everything was really well-paced, and overall I was just really happy with how the episode turned out. This actually might be my favourite Yo-Yo episode in the entire show, and the fact that the episode focused on mainly Yo-Yo and May was really good, because we've gotten the Deke and Mac stuff last episode. We've gotten a lot of Coulson stuff this season. We get some Daisy and Sousa stuff in episode 6. So May and Yo-Yo are two characters who I feel like they've gotten bits to do, but they haven't gotten near as many good scenes as a lot of the other characters, so it was really good to have an episode kind of really focused on them. I also liked a lot of what they did with Jia-Ying. You know, we start off kind of thinking Afterlife characters are going to be villains this episode, kind of a rehash of season 2, and it ends up that they're really actually kind of just being good people in this episode. Like, they really hammer home that without the influence of Whitehall and without the influence of Hydra, Jia-Ying actually turns out to be a pretty good person, or at least doesn't go down a lot of those dark paths. So that was a really good place for them to take the episode. Also, Lee, who was the new Inhuman, who's played by the same guy who played Yao Fei in Arrow, he was actually a really interesting addition to the show in this episode. We also don't seem to be done with him, because we can still see him at the end of the episode, and he has huge scars on his face now or something like that. But his powers, they didn't really go into too much detail about it. He can use knives, I guess, in really cool ways, but he just was a really interesting character. Same as Cora, the new Inhuman, who seemed like she was going to kill herself and seemed like she had some serious connections to Jia-Ying. There's a possibility she could be actually Jia-Ying's daughter and maybe a secret sister of Daisy, and she actually would have killed herself in that moment, which is why she's not around after that, which would mean that she, killed herself before Daisy's born and a lot of weird things like that. But that'd be really interesting if she is Daisy's sister and we see where we go with that. It also really ties into Nathaniel's story, because, obviously he's supposed to be dead as well, so it's kind of like characters who should be dead are now surviving much longer than they need to be, and that's a really interesting way that they're taking the season, and I'm liking it. On top of that, all the stuff that was happening on Zephyr One this episode was really fast paced, and I don't think there was one weak scene on the Zephyr One. I guess my one complaint is the beginning of the episode, the beginning like 2 or 3 minutes, where we're jumping through at different points in time, and Simmons is trying to figure out what's going on. That was a little bit choppy, maybe not even choppy, there was something off about that scene. It took me a few minutes to kind of think about it, and kind of realize what was going on and what they were trying to explain to us. But I feel like that opening 3 minutes could definitely have been handled a lot better, or at least done in a way that is easier to follow or easier to understand, because they were jumping around so much. Also, as good as episode 7 was, oh my god, did that episode have absolutely no repercussions on anything. It was completely filler. There wasn't one scene from episode 7 that was included in the previously on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. bit at the start of the episode. I think that we got like one reference to it, which was when Yo-Yo met up with Mac, and also when Deke is going to miss the 80s and was talking to Enoch about drumming and stuff like that. That was pretty much the only thing at all that tied into episode 7, so that really goes to show that episode 7 was a complete outlier. I'm thinking that maybe, yeah, they probably just want to do a really fun episode of the season, but they really needed to fill up episode 7. They didn't really know what they should or could do, so they decided to just go wild with a filler episode. In another season that'd be fine. In the final season though, I don't know, I think I would have rather 12 episodes all very fast paced, all very focused on the plot, rather than 11 or 12 really fast paced episodes and then one that's completely filler. But that's just me. Also, the fact that Deke's his weird S.H.I.E.L.D. team, the way that the last episode ended, I thought it was kind of implied that they were going to be in this episode as well, since we were still in the 80s, and they were going to play into something, but nope, they're just gone, not even referenced, so that was a bit weird. But we kind of get our first serious tie-in to Fitz, or serious scene about Fitz, I guess, which was Gemma sending the video message off, where she confirms that they haven't been in touch with Fitz at all since they rescued the team from the temple. So that obviously means that, or at least implies that Gemma and Fitz were in contact the entire time. How many ever years they were away, Gemma and Fitz were in contact the entire time, and it was only when they come back, save the team from Izell, and that's when Gemma and Fitz lost contact. So we know that, say if it was 10 years that they'd been away or something like that, or if they were outside of time for what feels like 10 years, we know Gemma and Fitz were probably in contact for that entire time. So it's not like that they've been not talking for a while, because if you kind of really think about it, besides Mac and Deke, most of the team have only really been traveling throughout time for probably a week or so, or what to them feels like a week. So that would mean that Gemma and Fitz haven't really been talking for like maybe that long, although it could be a lot longer for Fitz. But the whole thing about the Zephyr One as well, that they were going to destroy it, I was actually really excited to see what would happen if they did that. I was kind of really hyped up for the possibility the next episode would have all of the team on one Quinjet. They have to figure out what to do. They're kind of like all getting at each other's throats or whatnot because they're so in close quarters. They have no idea what to do. They've lost the only way to time travel. They have to figure a way out of all of that. That was a really interesting prospect for a storyline for me. Obviously, we're not going that direction. It seems like due to the preview, the next episode is going to be a very Groundhog Day focused episode with the entire Zephyr One stuck in a time loop. That's also really interesting. It's actually surprising me that S.H.I.E.L.D. has yet to do a Groundhog Day episode. It was only when I kind of looked at the promo and went, wow, they actually never have done one, because it feels like, given that any show that isn't extremely grounded, at some point will do one of those time loop episodes. I don't think there's a single time loop episode I've disliked, except for the Flash one, which was with Nora Allen. That one wasn't very good, but pretty much every other time loop episode I've really liked, so I'm hyped to see what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does with the idea. But yeah, I was really happy to see what they do with the Zephyr One thing. Obviously they didn't go that path, which is fine. I'm not saying they should have, I'm just saying it would have been a really interesting thing for them to do. Also, Elena, or Yo-Yo, now doesn't just swing back to where she was before. Now she keeps running, so however fast she can get in a single heartbeat, I think, is still the definition of her powers. But she doesn't just swing back to where she was, which makes her power a lot more stronger than it was. It's also interesting because I remember that the big thing in Season 2 and 3 was that Inhumans take a long time to transition, or at least the heroes transition at different times, or the characters transition at different times. Like, for example, they were saying that Dr. Andrew Garner, who was Lash, you know, he wouldn't have the ability to go back between human and inhuman form. He was transitioning to his inhuman form, and it was going to get worse and worse and worse until he eventually was straight up only Lash. That could be the same thing here, or could at least apply here, where it just took Elena a long time to evolve into her final form, which is not just bouncing back. I know she said it was all in her mind, she just didn't know how to do it. And well, I mean, that could apply as well to the Inhuman genes, but I think it's more so just that when she got the stuff from last season in her that ended up causing her to stop using her powers, it could just be that kind of activated some more of her Inhuman genes deep inside, which meant that now she just needed time to kind of wait for her powers to fully catch up to the new genes that were unlocked, or something like that. I also really like May in this episode. I thought that they used her empathic abilities very well, so I was very happy with that. On top of that, Nathaniel Malik was a pretty big part of this episode. I was actually really surprised when he showed up at Afterlife. I wasn't expecting him to be in this episode. I was very happy he was. The fact that he's teaming up with Cora is going to be cool. I don't know if we'll get anything with that next episode. If anything, it'll probably be in the tag for the end of next episode. I like Nathaniel, I liked Cora, but when it turned out that they were the tag for the episode and not Fitz, I was a little bit upset, because I miss that character so much. But hopefully he'll be here soon, but it's starting to look like episodes 12 and 13 might be the only episodes of the season he'll be in, unfortunately. But there was so much love about this episode. I was a little disappointed as well that Gordon didn't get more to do, because he was one of the more interesting Inhumans we've ever met in the show, and he was just kind of in, I think, 2 proper scenes or 3 proper scenes, and he talked in maybe 2 of them, and they were just kind of one-line pieces of dialogue, so we didn't really get a lot of him at all. But it was still cool to see him back. Oh, also we got to see Sousa get his new prosthetic leg, which was great. But anyway, this was an insane episode. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and all of that, and I hope you have an amazing day.